Live now on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you here in the Matt Black Kia Studios on 973 ESPN. So we got to get the Eagles, Sixers news, a bunch of stuff to get to. And of course, you can join the conversation as always. DM the show through the 973 ESPN mobile app. Download for free. Thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City, where you would have seen the latest news from the Eagles and Sixers earlier today. Also, we will announce tonight, so you saw it through the 973 ESPN mobile app, our Athlete of the Week. Every week we do the high school Athlete of the Week. We will announce that each Friday at 6:50 p.m. So we got to get to that a little bit later in the hour. So we got that. We got Eagles. We got Sixers. And I'll give you some of my favorite picks and thoughts on the football weekend. There will be a sports bash Saturday tomorrow. So we'll do more of the UFC talk tomorrow on the show. But today, we're just going to keep it to the Eagles, Sixers, and, of course, the high school sports Athlete of the Week right here on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to the Eagles stuff, because there was some very good news on the Eagles front, I got to get to the Sixers because, after last night's game, you're thinking, man, what a win by this team. They did it with 8 dudes. There was no depth out there, right? And all of a sudden, you turn around and you come out around noon today, actually around 1 o'clock today, and that woe story drops. We got it up at 973ESPN.com, the 973 ESPN mobile app. Oh, man, this story is absolutely ridiculous, okay? Not that the Sixers drama hasn't been ridiculous, but this is a whole new level. So, ESPN NBA Insider, if you didn't see the story, I'll just run it by you guys really quick here. Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, their NBA Insider, came out with this story earlier today that Ben Simmons has been fined $360,000 game salary for missing Thursday night's win. As the Sixers continue to fine him, they're going to put the money back in an escrow account because Ben Simmons, and this is a quote from the story, has not fulfilled other basketball-related obligations. Now, what are these basketball-related obligations? Well, apparently one of them is communicating with the Sixers about his status. Remember, it was a couple days ago that Shams Charania from Stadium and The Athletic reported that Daryl Morey had approached Ben Simmons to ask him, what's going on? How's it going? And Ben basically just told him that he's not mentally ready to play. But the Sixers have gotten no updates about Ben Simmons' situation. Now, it should be noted the Sixers are not looking for any specific details. Okay? Ramona Shelburne put this out the day before the Shams report. This is a 3-day cycle, okay? Ramona reported before the Shams report that Ben sought help through the NBA Players Association. He had been getting counseling and therapy for a few months. And that Ben has been working with the Sixers doctors on his back issue, but he's been unwilling to meet and discuss with the team about his mental readiness. So, during the course of the week, it has become more and more obvious that Ben is not interested in communicating with the Sixers. Now, this is a problem. Not just because of the fact that Ben Simmons is continuing to be a thorn in the side of the 76ers. It's a problem because if Ben is serious about wanting to be traded, remember, that was the whole talk for months. Ben wants to get traded. Sixers are going to try to trade him. There's a whole breakdown of how Doc Rivers and then went to his house and were like, look, Ben, you're under contract. Ben's like, I don't want to play. I'll go anywhere. All this stuff is going on. But if Ben is continually not communicating with the Sixers, not being open about what is going on with him, how on earth are you going to want teams to trade for you? If I'm an NBA team right now, and I'm looking at the Sixers situation, and I understand that everyone wants this situation to go away, But the person who is in control of the situation, who can make it go away right now, is Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons, through all of this, is acting unprofessionally. He is acting in a very immature manner. He is treating all of this like it's not his problem, when the reality is it's always his problem because his name is involved. Again, Ben doesn't understand, or he doesn't want to understand. I don't know all the details. I'm not talking to Ben Simmons every day, but I'm just telling you what the reality is in front of us. The reality is that Ben thinks that his trade value is not his responsibility, but yet he is doing everything in his power to hurt his own trade viability. And here's why. If you are an NBA team, why would you want Ben Simmons if Ben Simmons refuses to communicate with anybody about what is going on with him? This is a very simple situation, all right? And let me speak to everyone out there in a very specific way. All right? So for those who may or may not know, if you follow me on social media, maybe you know some of the details, or if you listen to the station long enough, maybe you are kind of lucid on the details. But I'll open the curtain up for you guys a little bit. And again, I preface this by saying the disclaimer: I am not a basketball player. I am not a superstar. I am not a millionaire. But I can speak to what it means to have a functional, professional working relationship. Mike Gill is my boss. When I was going through my physical health problems over the last almost 2 years, was almost 2 years, all right? When I had to go to numerous doctor appointments, go to numerous specialists, go see numerous people about all the things I was going through. I was keeping him updated along the whole way. When I was in the hospital, when I had my upper endoscopy, when I had to go to another doctor and another specialist and another this and another that, I kept Mike Gill updated because he is my boss about my situation. When I was having a rough day at the office, for lack of a better term, I let him know, hey man, I'm doing my best here. It's not a good day for me. That's called being a professional. That is called being an adult. That is called communicating with your people that you work with who depend on you for certain things. All right? There is no way that my boss can communicate to other people about my situation unless he knows what is going on with me. And in the same vein, Ben Simmons needs to be an adult. Ben Simmons needs to communicate to the Sixers, here's where I'm at. Here's what's going on with me. So when Daryl Morey wants to trade Ben Simmons, when he's in a position to make that move, which probably is not until after December 15th, because that is when all of the free agent contracts that happened in the offseason are now going to be turned around and be available to be traded in season. So don't expect anything until December 15th. But when December 15th hits and you look at the teams that are going to be potentially making phone calls, especially Western Conference teams, a team like the Minnesota Timberwolves, the Portland Trail Blazers, the San Antonio Spurs, potentially even the Sacramento Kings, who are a surprising team at 4-4 so far this year, the Memphis Grizzlies, who are currently 4th in the Western Conference. When you're able to make trades and teams want to start calling the 76ers about Ben Simmons' availability, and they ask Daryl Morey, how's Ben doing? What's going on with Ben? What's his status? What's the deal? And Daryl Morey is going to be on the other side of the phone with radio silence. They're going to be like, Did we lose you, Daryl? You still there? Can you hear me now? That's a bad look. You can't trade a guy if nobody knows what they're getting in return. So for Ben Simmons, you can't expect somebody to want to trade for you if they don't know they're getting the 3-time All-Star, 2-time NBA Defensive First Team, Defensive Player of the Year, runner-up player. They need evidence. They need that information. So the Sixers have every right to find Ben Simmons because he is making a fool of them. They have done everything for this guy. They have bent over backwards. They told him, we want you to get a shooting coach. I'm going to use my stepbrother. Okay, that's fine. When Ben Simmons didn't want to return during his first year because of the injury, they said, Ben will work with you. When Ben Simmons had the incident with his sister accusing his stepbrother, their stepbrother, of sexual assault, and he said, I need time away, the Sixers kept it all hidden, all under wraps. And they didn't let anyone interfere with Ben Simmons and his situation. When Rich Paul went to Daryl Morey and said, we want to have a conversation about the future of this situation, the Sixers accommodated him. But when the Sixers started saying, look, you're not dealing with us in good faith, we have to do something, and the only thing we have is the fact that we have a contract that you signed that says that you're supposed to be here, and you're not here, and you're not communicating with us, and you're not talking to us. We have no other action but to take your money away. And then Ben Simmons has the impromptu, I'm at the door, where's my COVID test, a few weeks ago. And the Sixers were like, okay, you're going to show up, you're going to reacclimate, you're going to go to practice. And then he gets kicked out of practice. Then he tells everybody, I'm not in a good mental space, I need some time. By the way, my back needs to be worked on. Again, the Sixers did everything in their power to make it work. And now you have a basketball team in the Philadelphia 76ers that are technically leading the Eastern Conference at 7-2 after a game last night where they had basically 8 guys available and probably one of the most ridiculous small ball lineups you've ever seen in your life. And they won the game without Ben Simmons, Tobias Harris, and then one of their most important bench guys, Furkan Korkmaz, this year. They have won multiple games now this year shorthanded because of injuries and COVID protocols. So the Sixers are proving that they don't need Ben Simmons. Ben Simmons needs them if he wants out of town. The 76ers have won 5 straight games. Meanwhile, Ben Simmons can't stop being a thorn in their side. And I don't want to hear about mental health because, let's be frank, a lot of the people who talk about mental health actually have no idea what they're talking about. They have no experience, no expertise, no personal knowledge. So the Neanderthals online who are saying that Ben Simmons is using the mental health thing as an excuse, you don't know that. I don't know that. So I can't speak to what's going on with that. But what I do know is that I am an adult. I am a professional. I have a job. I have a boss. And it is my job as a professional to communicate to my boss about what is going on with me. He doesn't need to know all the details of what's going on, but he at least needs to know what my status is to do my job. And Ben Simmons owes the 76ers that same level of respect. But he thinks he's above and beyond it all. I see the people out there losing their minds about Aaron Rodgers saying what he said. I wish those same people would have the same sort of vitriol and anger about Ben Simmons. Because Ben Simmons is being just as much of a self-absorbed jerk about his situation as people are saying that Aaron Rodgers is. Listen, I don't know Ben Simmons personally, but I just know how the real world works. And in the real world, you have to communicate with people. You have to be honest with people. You have to let them know what's going on. And when you're not honest and when you don't communicate, you make yourself look bad and you make your bosses look bad. So if Ben Simmons wants to be traded and Ben Simmons doesn't want to be in Philadelphia and Ben Simmons is unhappy, then he needs to do something to rectify his situation. And that's called stop being a child, talk to people. And when your boss, Daryl Morey, comes up to you and says, hey man, how you doing? What's going on? You don't just dismiss him out of hand because you don't feel like talking about your problems. I understand you used to date a reality star, Ben. But just because you dated a reality star doesn't mean that we want to be a part of your reality show. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea City. You can DM the show through the 97.3 ESPN mobile app, or you can text in at 609-403-0973. Text board is open 609-403-0973. And we're also live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. Of course, I'll give you some of my picks for the weekend a little bit later in the show, presented by my friends over at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. Football season is in full swing and basketball is here, and you can catch all the action at the FanDuel Sportsbook right off the Atlantic City Boardwalk at Bally's. It's time to experience sports betting done right with live streaming games, food and beverage, self-service betting kiosks, and more. Get in on all the games you love at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Hotel and Casino in Atlantic City. The retail sportsbook is conveniently located off the boardwalk, featuring 5 betting windows, a large video wall, a sports ticker, 20 self-service betting kiosks, and various lounge seats. Get your game face on and score big this weekend when you bet with FanDuel Sportsbook only at Bally's in Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. With what you guys think about the Ben Simmons situation and the Sixers on the other side. Plus, I'll give you the latest news on the Eagles. Nick Sirianni delivered good news, and I'm going to explain to you why it's very good news on the other side. Plus, still to come 30 minutes from now, the high school athlete of the week here in South Jersey. We will announce the winner of that contest. People have been voting all week. I've been seeing the poll numbers fluctuate up and down, up and down. I feel like I'm a pollster at this point, tracking the voting results. And I'm going to let you know who won this week. Of course, we will post the nominees for the athlete of the week every week at 973ESPN.com. I'll give you the full list of the nominees for this week on the other side, and then we will announce for you in 30 minutes from now who is the South Jersey High School Athlete of the Week right here on Game Night with yours truly, Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN.
This is the radio home for Philadelphia Eagles football. It's week 9 of the 2021 season with the Eagles hosting the LA Chargers at the Link.
Pushes, shoves, into the end zone, Boston Scott.
Pre-game coverage begins this Sunday at 3 p.m. Merrill and Mike call all the action starting at 4:05. This is where the Eagles play. 97.3 ESPN, South Jersey's Eagles station.
feature bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. At UFC 268, I'm taking Rose Namajunas to defend her UFC title at plus 100. Bet all the action in style at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig back here on Game Night, 97.3 ESPN. With your guys' thoughts and comments, we are live on YouTube and Twitter at 973 ESPN. You can DM the show through 973 ESPN mobile app. Priority messaging is free thanks to First Bank of Seattle City. And, of course, the text board is there for you at 609-403-0973. Get to the Eagles news in just a moment. Jalen DMs into the show. He says, Ben Simmons is a plague to the locker room. Can't imagine spending time with this guy. Well, that's the thing with Jalen, and I appreciate you chiming in. Listen, I don't know if Ben is a plague, because I think a plague, when I think of bad teammates, I don't think Ben is a bad teammate. I think there's a possibility that Ben might actually be a decent dude. I think the problem with Ben is that he has a very long history of letting his personal issues impact his professional life. He brings his personal life into his professional life. We've seen multiple times that when he was in and out of a relationship with Kendall Jenner, for example, that every time she cheated on him, every time that relationship went sideways, that he would have a difficult time dealing with it in his professional life. And obviously the situation with his sister has impacted him, and the disruption in their whole family environment has really messed with him. So I don't think that he is a plague per se. I think the problem with Ben is that he is immature. He is unable to own his flaws. He is constantly having to recite his resume and overcompensate, right? He's the small guy driving the big truck, right? He wants to tell you how big and bad his truck is, but he himself is not big and bad. That's who Ben Simmons is. Ben wants to tell you, I'm a 3-time All-Star. I'm 2-time All-NBA defensive first team. Because he has not learned to own and accept all of who he is. And that immaturity and that lack of, stability in his personal life and the messiness of how he handles his business, because he refuses to be a adult in many situations, is the reason why he's a problem. And the reason why we are in the situation we are today. And the 76ers have bent over backwards for him through 3 different administrations of front office leadership, from Brian Colangelo to basically the cabal of nobody really knew who was in charge at one point, to Elton Brand, and now Daryl Morey. You've been through all these iterations, and now we're in a situation where the organization says, look, Ben, we've done everything we can for you. We just want to know what's going on with you. We're not asking for details. We just want to know what is up with you. And Ben, for whatever reason, has decided that he doesn't want to have that conversation. And I think part of the reason is why, because Ben is an immature person who is getting a lot of bad advice. He surrounds himself with a lot of people who tell him what he wants to hear, not what he needs to hear. And as a result, you have Ben Simmons, the problem child. You have somebody who has lived his entire life entitled. He had a lot of things handed to him. His life was very, very comfortable. He went to LSU because it's where he wanted to be. He could have gone anywhere at any school. He didn't even want to be in school. That was in the HBO documentary. He was like, I'm only here because I have to be. I want to play basketball. I'm not here to be a student. There's a serious maturity issue. And Ben doesn't want to handle his business like an adult. And as a result, the Sixers are going to keep having to find him until he decides to be a grown-up. Over on the text board, Jeff from Summers Point chimes in. talking about Ben Simmons, is Ben is a drama queen. He's going to have to do what Anthony Davis did in New Orleans: play some games, sit some games with fake injuries. He needs to be put on. He needs to put on for show for a bit to gain some trade value. Jeff at Summers Point goes on to say, then we can get rid of him, hopefully for something decent like CJ McCollum. I just hope it doesn't affect the team's chemistry right now. Thanks, Josh. Keep up the great work. By the way, fireballs and Bud Lights tonight per usual. That's from Jeff in Summers Point. Listen, Jeff, I think you laid out a lot of good points there. The Anthony Davis situation is probably the easiest parallel at this point, not just because they have the same agent and Rich Paul, but because of the fact that, Anthony Davis. Now, the difference is, though, Anthony Davis was very upfront and much more of an adult with his situation than Ben Simmons has been. Anthony Davis understood what he had to do to be traded. He put himself in a position so the organization, them being New Orleans, could trade him and get the maximum value for him. And it's a trade that's actually worked out for both teams, because right now the best player on New Orleans is Brandon Ingram. And Anthony Davis won a championship with the Lakers. So in the immediacy, both sides won out. Now, it's not the Lakers' fault or Anthony Davis' fault in New Orleans. Hired David Griffin, and they completely botched the ball and Randall situations. But hey, you know what? It is what it is. And you move on. But they still have Brandon Ingram, and he's still a very good player. He's an all-star caliber player, and it's working out for them. I think that Jeff from Summers Point is right. I think Jeff gets what I'm talking about. The fact that Ben needs to showcase, put on a show, put himself out there to say, I am still Ben Simmons. At minimum, you need Ben Simmons to go out there and show that he is still a 3-time All-Star and a 2-time NBA first-teamer. It's very simple. I don't think that Ben understands that, or he wants to accept that. I think Ben thinks that the Sixers should just be able to trade him and it should be all okay. Now, I think you mentioning CJ McCollum is interesting, because for all the Sixer fans who were screaming, we want Lillard, and Lillard doesn't want to leave Portland, Lillard is the woman who keeps saying no to the dude who keeps asking her on a date. She doesn't want to date you. Lillard wants to be in Portland, but Portland right now is 3-5. And Portland right now is not a great basketball team. They're an okay team, and they're healthy, and they have everybody there. Portland may be one of those teams that around December 15th turns around, looks at their roster, looks at the standings, looks at Lillard, and say, we got to show this guy how serious we are about winning, like what Milwaukee did when they had to show Giannis how serious they were about winning, and they had to make moves. They had to go out and get Drew Holiday after the Bogdanovich fiasco. All right? Portland needs to do the same for Lillard, what Milwaukee did for Giannis. And I think CJ McCollum might be part of that. I think there is a possibility, if there is a trade before the deadline, between that December 15th and the deadline, that involves Portland and Philadelphia, I just don't think it's Lillard. I think it's CJ McCollum and other all-star caliber players could be involved in a big trade. Now, I don't think you can trade just Ben Simmons and get what you want in return. It might take Ben Simmons and Shake Milton, for example, or it might take, Ben Simmons and another player. But I do think that there is a possibility that CJ McCollum could come to Philadelphia, because that may be one of the pieces in maybe a 3-4 team deal. Remember, it took several teams to get the Harden deal done. Ben Simmons could be moved to the Western Conference, to a Minnesota or a Portland or a Sacramento or wherever, but it's going to take multiple teams, multiple pieces going multiple places, and CJ McCollum may be one of those pieces that comes to Philadelphia in a trade. So I don't think that is far-fetched by Jeff in Summers Point. Text board is open, 609-403-0973. Texter chimes in. Tom from Margate chimes in. Josh, I think a better characterization of Ben is that he's a cancer on the team. He is in breach of his contract, and he has disrespected his teammates. Have a great TGIF. By the way, try Black Velvet with a Guinness and champagne because today is International Stout Day Salute. That's from Tom in Margate. Tom, appreciate you chiming in. Also, thank you for the recommendation. I've never had a Black Velvet before. Consider me intrigued. Not promising you I will have it, but I will keep that in mind for my weekend. Tom from Margate, appreciate you chiming in. Yeah, the biggest problem for Ben is, like I said, it's a professional thing. It's a professional environment thing. Ben is in breach of his contract. So Ben needs to rectify that situation. It is on Ben and his agent to work with the Sixers for him to leave Philadelphia. And if he won't work with the Sixers, there's no way he is leaving Philadelphia. And it just is what it is. There's no way of getting around it. If Ben can't communicate with people what is going on with him on a macro level, which is a level of just general information, then how is it going to be for Daryl Morey to have a conversation with another executive about moving him? It's not going to happen. It can't happen. Over on the text board is 609-403-0973. Rich in the Villas takes exception with what I've been saying. Rich in the Villas says, Josh, I think you should stop talking about mental illness because you clearly do not know enough about the subject to even have an opinion on it. There's nothing normal about mental illness. Each illness affects individuals differently, and communicating is one of the toughest tasks for people dealing with disability. Be grateful that you don't understand it, because to understand it, most people have either gone through it or spent many years studying the subject. Rich from the Villas. Well, Rich, first of all, you obviously don't know me, because if you knew me, you would know that my personal background, because of my personal situation and because of my family, does involve mental illness. I am very well aware that it affects everyone differently. So, Rich in the Villas, you obviously don't know me, or you don't want to accept what I'm saying. People who have mental health problems or mental health issues, or whatever you want to call it, those people all have to learn how to deal with a disability, just like anyone. Anyone with a disability, whether it's physical or mental, they have to learn how to cope, to function in society, unless they want to be labeled disabled. And there's a lot of people who have a lot of pride, and there's a lot of ego, and there's a lot of shame because of the way society has painted people, and people saying things, no offense, Rich in the Villas, like yourself, who are saying, be grateful that you don't understand it, when you obviously are speaking out of turn because you don't understand that I do understand it much better than you think I do. And by the way, I have a minor in psychology from college. I spent a lot of time learning the social sciences because I want to understand myself and others better. I want to understand these things better. It is a interesting thing. The human mind fascinates me. So I am actually more knowledgeable than you think I am, Rich in the Villas. I understand that illness affects everyone differently. But the problem is not Ben's personal situation or what he's going through that is affecting his communication. The problem with Ben's communication is what has affected a lot of people in his age group. Society as a whole has been completely corrupted and de-evolved in the arena of communication. Social media has corrupted our ability to talk to each other. People can't hold conversations with each other anymore as a general principle. You go out to an establishment and you try to have a conversation with some people, they look at you like you're nuts. Why is this person talking to me? What do they want from me? What's wrong with this person? Why are they saying hello to me? Why are they being nice to me? People have become socially dysfunctional thanks to social media corrupting people's ability to be communicative because of the inundation by the environment we live in that's telling us we have to look, act, and talk a certain way. So people are ashamed of themselves in ways they shouldn't be. Furthermore, this pandemic has desensitized people to how to function and be adults in many environments. People forgot how to act like normal people. That's why all these incidents are happening at sporting events, because people are acting out. And not every one of those people acting out has a mental illness. And you or me can't tell Ben Simmons what he does or doesn't have either. I am just telling you that adults, whether they have a mental illness or not, whether they have mental health concerns or not, whether they have a disability or not, all have to function a certain way. You ask anybody who actually has a disability or has a mental health issue, they will tell you that they do not want to be stereotyped or put into a box. They don't want to be told you ride the short bus. They don't want to be told those derogatory concepts. We spent an entire year with society telling us that we need to stop being racist. We need to stop being misogynistic. We need to stop being prejudiced. But guess what? We're treating people with mental health issues in the same stereotypes that we are trying to get away from as a society. So don't tell me that Ben Simmons is exempt from everything else everyone else is going through. I don't know Ben Simmons' situation personally, intimately, and neither do you, Rich and the Villas. So you may think that me or somebody else doesn't know something, but the reality is there's a lot of people who know more than you think they do. Let's get one more text in here. Mike from Ocean City says, I believe it has a lot to do with integrity. Integrity is gone, then there is no more integrity. He's using the situation as a scapegoat. That's from Mike in Ocean City. Listen, integrity means being honest. If you have a problem, the first step, remember in AA, is admitting you have a problem. The first step down the road to progress and rehabilitation is admitting you have a problem, being honest about it. And Ben Simmons doesn't want to talk about it for whatever reason. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. We spent way more time talking about Ben Simmons' situation than I expected. I appreciate all the texts. I even appreciate Rich from the Villas chiming in, even though we don't agree and Rich is way off. So thanks to Jalen. Thanks to Jeff from Summers Point. Thanks to Tom over there in Margate with the Black Velvet recommendation. And thanks to Mike at Ocean City for chiming in. On the other side, we are going to announce the high school athlete of the week in South Jersey. All week, people have been voting. We are over 4,000 votes on the poll. We have 5 nominees this week. Your nominees for this week are Nasir Hill from St. Augustine Prep, caught 2 touchdown passes and had a pick 6 in the St. Augustine Prep Hermit football team's 35-21 win over Holy Spirit to earn their bye in the NJSIA playoffs. Your second nominee was Sean Mizzatelli from Ocean City. He scored 2 touchdowns and made big defensive plays in Ocean City's 31-14 win over Williamstown as the Red Raiders finished their first unbeaten regular season in 25 years. Your third nominee is Sophia Day from Mainland Regionally. The freshman, she won the Cape Atlantic League cross-country meet by more than a minute a week after winning the Atlantic County meet. And she's only a freshman. I mean, good grief. What is she going to do when she's a junior and a senior? She's going to be a force of nature. Andrew Riker from Hamilton, the senior, ran for 146 yards and 2 touchdowns, plus made big key plays on defense as Hamilton won 43-0 over Triton, qualifying themselves for the NJSIA playoffs. And your final nominee this week was Summer Rymett from Ocean City. She scored twice, including the game-winning goal in a 3-2 win over Bishop Eustace to make the Raiders the first Cape Atlantic League team to ever win the South Jersey Girls Soccer Invitational. She also leads the state in scoring by more than 11 goals with 56 goals this season. And she has been selected to play in the All-American Girls Soccer game in Tennessee next month. So some amazing nominees this week. We will announce the official winner with over 4,000 votes cast this week for the 97.3 ESPN High School Athlete of the Week. Next, right here with me, Josh Hennig, on Game Night.
Listen this Saturday to Notre Dame football on 97.3 ESPN.
Hi, Notre Dame fans. This is Paul Burmeister. Join me, Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris, and host Tony Simeone this Saturday as the Irish host Navy at Notre Dame Stadium. Our coverage begins at 2:30 p.m. Eastern in the 94th meeting between these two legendary rivals. Tune in right here on your home for Notre Dame football.
It's Notre Dame football on 97.3 ESPN.
This week's featured bet is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook at Bally's Atlantic City. At UFC 268, I'm taking Rose Namajunas to defend her UFC title at plus 100. Bet all the action in style at the FanDuel Sportsbook inside Bally's Atlantic City. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, Josh Hennig back here on Game Night 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to the Eagles and before we wrap up the show and give you some football picks for the weekend, the South Jersey High School Sports Athlete of the Week, 973ESPN.com. The voting's been going on. We are at 4,000 votes. It was a back and forth tug of war between about 3 different athletes this week. But the official winner, with polling closed just about less than an hour ago, the winner of the week from the past week in high school sports goes to Nasir Hill from St. Augustine Prep. He had 2 touchdown passes and had a pick 6 in the Prep's 35-21 win. And the Hermits now have a bye in the first round of the NJSIAA playoffs. Congratulations to Nasir Hill for winning the voting this week. And also congratulations to Sean Mazzatelli from Ocean City, Sophia Day from Mainland, Andrew Riker from Habington, and Summer Rymett from Ocean City for being nominees. Be sure to stay tuned to 973ESPN.com and the 973 ESPN mobile app when we tell you next week's nominees. And each Friday at 6:50 on Game Night, we will tell you the winner each week right here on your home in South Jersey for your Eagles, Sixers, Flyers, and high school sports coverage, 97.3 ESPN. I mentioned there's some big news with the Eagles today. We didn't get a lot of chance to talk. I'll talk about it more tomorrow on Sports Bash Saturday, following Billy Schweim in the locker room at 12 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. Big news from Nick Sirianni, by the way. To me, them announcing that Anthony Harris and Jack Driscoll are back for the game this week to me is huge, because number one, Justin Herbert is a much better quarterback than Jared Goff. He's top 10 in the NFL in yards per game and touchdown passes. And Anthony Harris is still one of the better coverage safeties in the NFL. Then Jack Driscoll, you want your best offensive line out there. I understand the Chargers have the worst rush defense in the NFL, but off of their bye week last week and their loss to the Patriots, they give up the 3rd fewest rushing yards on the season. So if they have figured out even like a small amount of how to slow down rush attacks, even a little bit, with a defensive-minded coach and Brandon Staley, you want Jack Driscoll out there. Driscoll is arguably one of your best offensive linemen on the roster, and with no Brandon Brooks, you want Driscoll out there. Him and Lane Johnson have done an incredible job when they've been run behind this year. I think Driscoll and Landry Dickerson are obviously the future of this offensive line. They both have played very well this year. And I got to be honest, I'm going Eagles. I wanted the Eagles to prove to me last week that they could win a game. And if they do what they did last week, they are beating the Chargers. They will get their first win at home. I am riding with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm going to say Eagles win. I'm going to go with 27-20. I think the Chargers get some points on the Eagles. I don't think the Eagles will be completely able to shut down their defense, but I do think the Eagles are more than capable of going out there and getting things done. So I'm riding with the Eagles on Sunday. We'll break down more of the Eagles game tomorrow. We're running out of time here on Sports Bash Saturday. But don't forget, we are halfway through the NFL season, and FanDuel Sportsbook wants you to get the most out of every game, and that's why they're giving everyone a $10 risk-free bet each week. And all you have to do is make a same-game parlay bet with 3 legs or more, and if your bet doesn't win, FanDuel will pay you back up to $10. There is no feeling like hitting a same-game parlay bet, so lock in your bet today on FanDuel Sportsbook, and you have to $10 back if your bet doesn't win. If you're new to FanDuel Sportsbook, sign up today with promo code Hennig and also receive 31 odds on either Green Bay or Kansas City to win Sunday afternoon. Win $150 on a $5 bet with promo code Hennig exclusively on FanDuel, the #1 rated sportsbook app in America. You must be 21 or older to play and present in New Jersey. Refund issued as non-withdrawable site credit that expires in 7 days. Max refund $10. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Same game parlay available in multiple sports in all states on mobile or web. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. All right, it's rapid fire here. Some college football picks because we're going to be on the air tomorrow, so I can't give you all the picks if I'm already on the air. Get the game started. First of all, I'm going over on the Army Air Force 37.5. I think that number is way, way too low. I'm digging the 24.5 Kansas at home number versus Kansas City. That's a rivalry game, and Kansas actually played well this year. I don't understand why it's so much. I understand the Wake Forest, North Carolina number is very high. It's 77.5. But let me tell you something. If one team scores 45, the other team scores 35, you're hitting the over. And I think that's not what the score is going to be. A couple more. I like Kentucky at home. I really do. I don't understand why it's a pick'em game them in Tennessee at this point. But I would ride with Kentucky at this point. It's a home game. It's in the SEC. Tennessee isn't that good. And of course, you heard my pick of the week. Rose Namajunas. She's plus 100 right now. She's a defending champ. We've won with her before as an underdog. We will win with her again. I'm Josh Hennig. Catch you tomorrow.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein. We'll recap the week in sports. The Eagles, Sixers, and Flyers have all played well last week. Let's see if they can keep it up. The sportsbook consigliere Dave Sharapan checks in from Vegas with his six-pack of picks for the weekend's big games. Then we'll hear from former Eagles linebacker and newest member of the Rowan University Hall of Fame, John Bunny, about his career. It's the locker room with Billy Schwein Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN and the mobile app.